Good afternoon on a snowy April afternoon. This is Chuck Cameron talking to you from OCTV. The program is My Life. And today I'm sitting with a guy who I think I could have been good friends with had we met a long time ago. This is Mike Dare. Mike, thank you for taking some time to talk to us today. I appreciate it. Welcome.
Thank you, Chuck. Thank you.
Good to have you.
Yep.
As you know, we start to talk about what people are, who people are from where they were. So Mike, tell us a little bit about what you're doing now. You're involved in Oxford. You do a lot of things around here. How might people know you? What have you been doing?
Well, I'm retired now, so I'm not really out as much. And then with the past COVID thing and my wife and I at the age that we are, and I have a few minor medical issues, so it's been tough. It's been tough, Chuck. I mean, we couldn't go and see even family. We couldn't see friends. So, so right now we're just getting back in a swing of things. I still stay connected with a few of the kids that I coached in Little League Baseball, and friends through that my wife has met. And while we were playing ball, she'd meet the girls, and so she still goes out to lunch with a lot of them. And
so we've got some family stuff. We've got some Little League Baseball. I'm sure we're going to hear about that. I know you do some work with an organization called Key of Hope. You want to say a thing about that, and then we'll go back to talk to you about when you were a child. So what's this Key of Hope stuff?
Well, Key of Hope is a Christian-based missionary group, I'll call them. They're out of Durban, South Africa. Peggy and I, my wife and I, have worked with them for 10 to 12 years, Chuck, and they, like I said, they take care of over 2,000 children now, which includes schooling and school clothes and uniforms that they have to have, and birth certificates, which is very tough, over there with the government the way it goes. So we've been involved with them for those 10, 12 years. Went and visited once for, on a mission trip for 6 weeks. Wonderful thing, keyofhope.org. It's a wonderful organization.
Excellent. I'm sure we're going to have some time to talk about this. Let's drag you back, though. Let's start when you were a kid. The Mike today is, as we all are, a function of a lot of the folks and the events that happened in our lives starting when we were young.
Absolutely.
So where'd you grow up, and what was your home like?
Well, I grew up in Waterford, Michigan. Lived on Pontiac Lake, which kind of neat when you're a kid, always stuff to do and like that. Lived there until I was graduated at 7th grade, and then we had moved from there. But had a lot of good little friends in the neighborhood and like that. My mom and dad were hard workers, never really went to bed hungry, and never went to bed cold. I mean, we were probably lower middle class, what you would call these days. My dad was starting his career, and my mom worked in a foundry at Pontiac Motors, so
that's work.
Pretty tough stuff, but made it all work, So.
Excellent. So when you were a kid, which school did you go to? When did you start out? First school?
First school was Pontiac Lake Elementary School. It's now turned into a church, but I went there all the way through 6th grade. Then Pierce Junior High School, 7th and 8th grade, I believe.
Okay. So you mentioned that there was a teacher at your elementary school that had you still remember fondly, I think. Who was that?
That was Mrs. King. She was my kindergarten teacher.
Oh, that's a ways.
There were a lot of them after that were pretty cool, but she was, because my mom and dad worked, I was with a babysitter, Mrs. Nickenbacher, and until I went to school, I didn't know it, but we didn't have preschool back then and all that stuff. In fact, there were 2 kids across the street from me that I never even knew them. They were right across the street, never even knew them, but they were babysitted somewhere and I was babysitted. So it's like that. So I remember she said, draw a picture of what you want to be when you grow up.
Okay.
So I had been to the circus at one time, so one kid was going to be an FBI agent, and one kid was going to be a carpenter. I was going to be a lion tamer.
Ooh, I like that.
And I still am looking for that. I have that picture somewhere at my house that my mom saved. But
Excellent.
yeah, so being a lion tamer, that was my goal in life, huh?
That's good. That's a good start. Shoot high.
Well, and kind of
Shoot
corny,
high.
but you know.
Nothing wrong with that. So you leave Waterford, you go out to, where'd you move to?
We moved to Orchard Lake, back when Orchard Lake was fields. The high school there was just a big open field, and Tam O'Shanter Country Club was right behind it. So I learned to get over and started caddying when I was, 13 years old, whatever, and
Excellent.
grew myself. And my mom and dad were hard workers.
Yep.
So by the time I was late 15, that summer of my year at 15, the PGA stopped the tour caddies because there was an unfair advantage to the guys like Nicklaus and Palmer, so they stopped it for 2 years. Well, I qualified. They took 5 kids from each private country club and sent to Grand Blanc for the Buick Open.
Oh, nice.
And I caddied in the Buick Open
Got
for
to
2
caddy
years.
in the Buick.
Yeah,
Look at
pretty
that.
cool.
Very nice.
And that taught me, if I didn't work hard, I wouldn't have made that. So it's kind of cool.
That's a good message that kids either get or don't.
Yeah,
You got a reward for hard work.
pays off. You don't know it at the time, and people can tell you and tell you, but you got to sort that out yourself.
Excellent. So you have any brothers or sisters?
I got a brother and a sister.
Okay.
My brother's 14 years younger than me. He was a police officer and retired narcotics officer. I hope, I'm not giving anything up here, but he doesn't do that anymore, so don't worry about it. So, and then my sister is a business lady, and she lives now in Pittsburgh. Had a wonderful, wonderful business doing human resources, working for larger companies, doing their human resourcing stuff for them.
Excellent. So when you were growing up, was faith any part of your life?
Yeah, we went to Sunday school, and it was, but, when you're young, and, my mom had to sit me on one side at church and my dad on our side, and elbow us both to keep us awake. But I didn't get out of it what I should have, Chuck, until I turned 54, and my wife and I both became born-again Christians. So it was, I did go to Sunday school. I went to the summer, I don't remember what you call that, in the summer where they have
Vacation Bible School?
Vacation Bible School.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Oh, you were probably in my class, weren't you?
Well, you're a lot younger than I am.
I was in the back always, so you were probably in the front, but
I was probably out running through the fields is what I was doing.
yeah, they were chasing the girls. You probably.
Well,
you were doing.
we won't get into that until the next
Okay,
section.
all right. That's
Yep. So what we're going to do, we'll take a break now for a minute, and then we'll talk a little bit when we come back about from then on, high school, and after high school, what'd you do, and where'd you go, and military, and then how'd you end up having the careers you did and the jobs you did. But we'll take a minute. So if you all will stand by, we'll be right back, and we'll talk to Mike some more about what turns out to be quite an interesting life. Don't go away.
Thanks, Chuck.
Okay, we're back. So Mike, you high school, got out of high school. When you got out of high school, what did you think you wanted to do, or what did you decide to do when you got out of school?
I had no idea.
Yep.
But the U.S. government had a lottery that year for the draft.
Yes, they did.
As you remember, 1969. And my number was far below what they anticipated to take to the 230.
Yep.
And it was my birthday. So I was pretty outgoing,
Outgoing.
So I just went down to Pontiac and told the guy, what do you call
Recruiter.
Recruiter, yeah. Well, I told him my story. I've got to go, so let's get her over with.
Yep.
So we said, well, how soon do you want to go? I said, I just want to get it over with, so let's get going. So I talked to him on Thursday, and I was in Fort Knox on Monday.
That's fairly soon.
Yeah,
Yep.
Thursday to Monday, bang, done.
Excellent.
The long hippie hair,
That
gone.
went. That went.
That went, bye-bye, yeah,
Yes, it did.
yeah. So,
How long did you serve?
2 years.
And did
Spent
you
time in Okinawa.
got it?
Worked in a hospital in Okinawa where we took in 45 Aerovac, pretty bad injured boys.
Yep. Coming back from Nam?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, three times a week, and that was either go for either to Okinawa, our hospital, to Japan, Yokosuka, or come back to the States, depending on their situations. But I remember we got the San Francisco news channel there at night, and it would be 250 Vietnamese killed today and 2 Americans wounded. I'm like, wait a second. I just took in 45. Wait a second. Well, we had to figure it out that, and I have nothing against the government. I love where I live, but that was when I was very patriotic. I still am, but that didn't sit well with me
Yeah. Yep.
at all. And when you get mistrusted, you don't trust something, it stays with you, like
It's
long time or forever.
It's hard to earn back lost trust, isn't it?
Not. It don't happen with me. I don't trust you. It's pretty tough.
Well, I'll try to behave myself then.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You would have wore a tie, but anyways, that's not a
put
trust thing. Don't worry about it.
Clean socks on for today.
That boy.
Does that help?
That boy.
Okay. So you're in the service. Did your stint for a couple of years. Came back stateside.
Yep.
Did you find a romantic relationship that you want to talk about?
After I came back?
Yes, sir. Or anytime.
Well, I was married once and fell victim, my wife and I, to a divorce thing.
Okay.
We had 2 wonderful children together.
Okay.
And I was young, and you know how you are when you're young, you're not so smart, and it's probably, I'll take at least 50%, maybe 60, 70% of the blame for it. But we got 2 wonderful children out of it.
That's a blessing.
She went on to, she's very, very smart girl, and she went on to get her doctorate in
Outstanding.
theology. So she's she has a doctorate, and she's a good Christian lady and a pastor. So
And then you've got 2 kids as well.
then I got the 2 boys.
What are your boys doing now?
One boy works for FedEx, and my oldest boy tried the college thing, but he has an ADD problem that I have that was never diagnosed. I know that he got it from me, but back when we were young, nobody even knew the word. So, but he's tough, and he gave me a grandson, Royce,
Outstanding.
who's now 3. His birthday was yesterday, and Chuck E. Cheese,
Ooh,
the
yeah.
thing, right?
Yeah.
So don't call it Chuck Cheese either.
No.
It's Chucky. Yeah.
I'm Chuck, so we don't want to do that.
Yeah. Okay. So where was it? And then I got my youngest boy, Aaron. He lives in New Orleans. They both moved down there when New Orleans went underwater, and I was a contractor, so I would buy houses and we would fix them up. And the youngest boy really got into it, and he fixed up 3 or 4 of them, and we flipped them. And he went to Michigan State, graduated from Michigan State. So when he went up there, we bought a house, and he rented to 3 other kids that were going to school there, and that paid for everything. Probably not including his beer money, but other than that. But he's a sharp kid. He's like number 2 or 3 in the whole state of Louisiana in the real estate business for sales, gross sales.
He goes out and gets it done, huh?
Yeah, he's a
Excellent.
Trooper.
Now, I heard tell that you were somehow involved in Little League, so you got back in and you had some
Yeah.
kids. And how'd you get
Yeah.
involved in this Little League stuff?
Well, my boys, from my ex-wife, she lived in Lapeer. My new wife, we'll call her, Peggy, a wonderful lady. So we had them all pretty much most all the summer, and then every other weekend, and then like that, and holidays and like that. So when they came down here, I played a lot of sports, and they like sports. I just introduced them to everything: karate, this, that, bowling, you know. And they picked, you know. So one plays hockey, one played golf, but they both love baseball. So
Nice.
I signed them up here in Oxford.
In Oxford.
And it was just a wonderful run, Little League. The president of the league at the time was Mark Hine, who was tragically diagnosed as a young man with polio. So he's in a wheelchair, you know, as ever I knew him. Like, he called me up and he said, well, you're going to have to coach these kids because we got a team that your kids are on, they don't have a coach. And I said, well, I can't do it. I'm in the air conditioning business, summers.
Yeah.
That's
Busy
where I
time.
make my money, and I can't do it. I can help, and I'm a good athlete and a good ball player. I played on Harmony Island baseball team that
There you go.
6,000 guys tried out, and I made the team. So I know baseball, but I don't have time.
I heard I can't several times. I'm not thinking that's how this came out though, did it? I can't, and then
Well, then he called. I said, "Hey, check with the other dads and call me back and let me know what happens." So he calls like 10 minutes later. I said, well, dude, you didn't call 18 guys in 10 minutes. Come on now. You have to do it. I've already talked to all of them. They can't do it. And some of them don't know baseball. All right, I'll do it, but I got to have some help. I got to have some help from some of the fathers. So if I'll sign up, but I'm going to bail out if I don't get some help. So we did. One of the best, I think it was 4 or 5 years of my life.
excellent.
I met all these young kids, and my wife and I have a passion for children and children's needs. So, and some of these kids never played ball, or didn't have, the father was busy, or maybe wasn't into baseball, or what, didn't teach them. So we had to take them from ground zero.
Got it.
When they're, 8, 9, 10 years old, and a lot of these kids are very competitive, but we played every kid, the amount of innings that every kid played. The rule was you had to put them in for an inning bat and then take them in the field 1 inning and then set them on a bench. So that's how we roll.
But at least everybody got to play.
We played about the same amount of innings. I got some flack from some few parents, but like, well, Johnny's the best player on your team. You got to play him every. No, I don't. And they play the equal amount.
There you go.
They all come to practice and they all work hard.
There you go. Well, so Little League, rumor has it that you have some knowledge of Terry Stiles, young lady who has some involvement here at the TV station, our
sure
manager.
do. Yeah, I sure do, Chuck. Yeah, she's a beauty. Her and her husband. I coached Little League. In fact, when Mark was the president of the league, Mark Hines, who was in the wheelchair, he and Don coached together, came back in and started coaching. And so I knew Don Stiles, and Terry was at all her son's games pretty much. And
Yep.
yeah, so that's how we made a friendship.
the
So we've been friends for 30-something years.
Outstanding.
Over.
Yep.
And my wife's got still a lot of buddies from that. It was some of the best, we say it was one of the best 4 years of her life,
Good. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a little break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the time from then to now. You've been involved in a lot of things. I'm especially interested in this Key of Hope. So you stay tuned, and I think there's a lot more to this story to hear.
Let's talk about my wife a little more too, eh?
We can do that. All right. Catch you in a minute.
All right, buddy.
If you need to do something to feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive. Don't drive buzzed.
Okay, we're back. So you have a wife you'd like to talk about. Tell me a little bit about your wife.
So my wife Peggy, so we dated. That's a long story, but I'm gonna condense it as best I can. So we worked together at a heating air conditioning place. Her mom was a bookkeeper. My dad was the top technician there. And, we started dating and like that. And ended up, we were talking about getting married. But her mother, wonderful woman, but at the time she wanted Peggy to marry a young man in their neighborhood. And Peggy was influenced by Fritz, a wonderful, wonderful family she came from, and good support. And so she was influenced, and we were young, in her early 20, I think. So we eloped, or we were going to elope. So they were at a function with the other little boy that her mom liked, and I went and picked Peggy up in my van, and off we went. And about 3 or 4 days later, after her brothers were chasing me around town, and then her mom was wanting to talk to her, so I said, you better call her, and so she called her, and she talked her back home, and things would be okay. But then the dad they changed their phone number, and I couldn't talk to her anymore. So, of course, I knew a guy that worked for Bell Telephone, so he climbed a pole in front of their house and got the number and gave it to me. So I called the father, he talked to him, and he was a good guy. Larry was her dad, was a wonderful guy. So he said, yeah, I don't know how you get this number, but please don't call. So out of respect for him. So years later, I started my business and went to Maryland for 6 years, had a business down there, air conditioning business. Decided to move the boys up here because I thought the school systems were better. So my ex-wife and I moved them up here. So anyways, after the divorce, I was hanging around for 1.5 years, and my gal that worked with me as a secretary, she said, you need to talk to that girl you told me that story about. I said, I don't know where she is. So she said, I'll find her. Well, she found her. She worked with Farmington School Systems. I called her up 15 years later.
15 years later.
Our first date was a Tiger game. So I said,
It's a good start.
You probably don't remember who this is, Mike Dare. I said, what do you think about going to a Tiger game? I heard you're divorced. I'm divorced. She said, I'll get back to you.
Ooh,
Give
that's
your
good.
number. Yeah.
Not
Except for it went 2 weeks
anxious.
before she got back to me. I was like, yeah. Dude, I was like, okay. But and so we went to the game, and things went on, and I wouldn't introduce her to my children. She wanted to be I said, I don't do that. I'm not going to have my children around another woman until it's pretty serious stuff, because I don't want them to be this girl and that stuff. So, and then she got to meet him, and we got married, and the boys, she treated them like they were hers.
Good.
And she was never able to have children. We went through all the doctor things and giving her shots in the butt and all that. That's all the stuff. And we finally said, that's enough. We'll adopt her. We got 2 that I share. She's just a wonderful, wonderful woman.
Good partner, huh?
Oh,
So then someplace along the way, you got involved in Oakland Family Services. How'd that happen?
yeah. At my business, we've always cared for children, right? Goes way, way back when I was a child, and I didn't have a lot of friends and stuff. My mom and dad worked so hard, and I was a babysitter all my life. So it's like, I always have this passion for kids, and so our company, the company that my partner and I owned, we would every year at Christmas time, we got with Oakland Family Services, checked them out, and they were good. So we did Christmas for them, and
Nice.
and I got all of my suppliers to donate, and we'd raised $10,000 to $15,000. And the girls at the Oakland Family Services, well, they need sheets and pillowcases, and they need socks, and they need this. I said, no, we need from you the list of the toys that they need, because let everybody else do. You got other people that sponsor this. Let them do that. We want the letters from the children, in their children's handwriting, back to Mrs. King and the Lion Tamer.
There you go.
So she said, well, they'll have bicycles. They'll want it. Okay.
Why not?
American Issue guy, take care of the Schwinn dealership. He'll cough up a few bikes. So what? We got this. That's the only way I'm gonna do this. So we did it. And then the guys that we worked with, all the techs and stuff, would come in, put all these bikes together, and we had a good old company thing, you know.
Yeah.
And the girls would wrap and and haul them over there, and so it was. That kind of started us, and I saw how that worked. And Guy Gordon was their sponsor back. You remember Guy Gordon?
Sure.
Yeah. So he was a wonderful guy. So I worked with him for years, and then Key of Hope came along, and good friends of my wife and I, Dan and Rachel Smithers, packed up their 4 children, including an infant, basically, and moved to Durban, South Africa, and we got with them.
So they moved from here to South Africa without having a job?
The Smithers?
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's-
without having a place to stay. They sold all their furniture, sold their house.
Why did,
KeyofHope.org. You got to check it out.
why did they do that?
Well, God's calling.
When God calls,
That's faith.
it's good to pick up the phone, right?
You might want to answer it. Yeah,
Might
yeah,
wanna
because on the other line, it could be the guy you don't want to talk to,
Indeed.
right? No,
So
he's always on the other line.
How'd you get connected in with Key of Hope?
So through our friends, Dan Smithers' aunt, Auntie Frances, she introduced us to them, and we pretty much hit it off right away. And,
So you've been to South Africa then?
oh yes, yeah. My wife and I went over on a mission trip for 6 weeks. They put up with us for 6 weeks, and then we also sponsor a couple of children with Compassion International. So while we were there, Peggy's pen pals, but we sponsor a young lady. She would. We went and visited her in Kenya. So
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's so I'm carrying this on along, but go
Okay.
ahead.
So it sounds to me like this. You've got a heart for kids, Little League proved that, and then you got involved with the Oakland County Family Services, and then Key of Hope, you're involved in that still now, doing work with people in Africa who take care of a bunch of kids who need help. What a great spot to be in this point in your life to do things that help children.
We're blessed.
Indeed.
We're blessed. It's God's money, and He just lets us distribute it.
It is indeed God's money.
And we've gotten a couple of girls through college, so
Yeah. Good for
beautiful
you.
thing.
It's a good thing.
It's fun.
You're laying up treasures in heaven. I remember reading that somewhere.
Yeah, it gives an old fart like me something to do. You know what I'm saying?
And we want to keep
Can I
you.
say fart on here? It's okay?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, I
I
won't.
said-
Yeah.
I suspect it might
Edit
get by the
that. Yeah, it
censors.
might get edited.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
All right. Well, look, it's a joy to talk to you. I met you when we had a chance to hear the choir that Key of Hope brought in from South Africa. And the kids were just wonderful singers, musical stuff. Now I get a chance to learn you a little bit more. So now we know more about your story. Hopefully we'll hear more in the future. Now, if somebody wanted to know more about Key of Hope, where would they go to get that information? Talk to the camera?
Oh, they would. Yeah. Would KeyofHope.org. Go check that out. And I want to mention, we didn't mention my one grandson, Royce, whose birthday was on Saturday.
Yeah.
We went to Chuck E. Cheese. I loved that little guy.
Yeah, that's excellent. Chuck E. All right, so then today we find out again that everybody has a story. And Mike is one of those people in your community who have a great story. If you know other folks who have a great story that might be interested in talking, please let us know. From now, this is Chuck Cameron. The program is My Life. We thank you, Mike, very much for spending some time with us,
Thanks, buddy.
and we hope you'll watch again. Have a good day.